And welcome back to Pretoria. It is, of course, in anticipation of what's to happen in a few hours' time. At 10 a.m. is when we are expected to kick off the first day of the Madlanga Commission. And this, of course, a commission of inquiry established by President Cyril Ramaphosa to look into allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, into criminality, political interference, and of course also just a broader corruption in the criminal justice system. And we're joined now by the Commission spokesperson, Mr. Jeremy Michaels, just to talk to us about the scope and some of the other events regarding the Commission. Jeremy, good to speak to you again.
Very good to be with you, Sakina.
We spoke yesterday, but let's perhaps just go back in terms of the full scope of the Madlanga Commission, just getting that clarified, and exactly the powers to investigate that this commission will carry.
So, firstly, I think it's very important for us to say that following the allegations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi on the 6th of July, the terms of reference were then published under the hand of the President on the 23rd of July. And since then, there's a lot of work that has been going on behind the scenes by the evidence leaders, the investigators, to arrive at today in just 2 hours' time. Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga, the chairperson of the commission, will be opening proceedings, and then Advocate Terry Mutau, SC, the chief evidence leader, will be delivering an opening statement, and I'm sure we will come back to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. But in terms of the scope, the mandate, the terms of reference of the commission, to your question, I think firstly, the scope is quite broad, given Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's allegations. So the commission is charged with inquiring into, investigating these very, very serious allegations that our law enforcement agencies have been infiltrated by criminal syndicates, drug cartels, and the decisions of our law enforcement agencies, or affecting and also operational decisions, have been unduly influenced by people who shouldn't be making those decisions from outside the law enforcement agencies. And I will come to those on the inside. But firstly, the South African Police Service is, of course, within the scope of the inquiry, and that includes the Political Killings Task Team and Crime Intelligence. Then there are other law enforcement agencies, the National Prosecuting Authority, the State Security Agency, the Department of Correctional Services, the 3 Metro Police Departments in Gauteng, amongst others. And of course, again, that links very closely, or it flows from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's allegations. In terms of the powers of the commission, this is, I think, no ordinary commission, in the sense that not only do you have the normal sort of search and seizure powers, the power to subpoena, of course, but very specifically, the terms of reference say that the commission, before and during the course of its work, is able to make recommendations regarding, for example, the employment status, and potentially recommendations to suspend officials within those law enforcement agencies, depending, of course, on what the commission finds. And I think also, very importantly, the commission, it is stipulated in the terms of reference that when the commission reports to the president, that interim report, of course, being due within 3 months, and we can talk about the timeline, but the final report also due within 6 months in terms of the terms of reference as they stand. And that is effective from the date of publication, or the 23rd of July. So the terms of reference then state very clearly that the recommendations must be actionable. And that, I think, gives a very clear indication that action is intended to flow from the work of the Commission.
And the question then becomes, how exactly? Is there a mechanism to ensure that that actually does happen and happen timeously so that we don't go down the same road as previous commissions have done? So Justice Madlanga is, of course, a respected jurist, but in terms of just being able to ensure that the SIU or whichever other arm needs to come in and secure the action beyond what the Commission will do, the NPA doing their part, making sure that everybody actually actions these recommendations. Is there any sort of power that the Commission has to further that at this stage?
It's an important question, Sakina. I think, as you say, firstly, and very specifically, the terms of reference say that the Commission shall, I'm quoting clause 12 of the terms of reference, where appropriate, refer any matter for prosecution, further investigation, or the convening of a separate inquiry to the appropriate law enforcement agency or government department or regulator. So the work of the Commission is to investigate and make recommendations. But the Commission doesn't have the power then to follow through. That then is the responsibility of those who are charged with that responsibility. So, you know, if it is the National Prosecuting Authority, of course, in terms of the Constitution, it is within their domain to make decisions on the recommendation of the Commission. But ultimately, if there are to be prosecutions, that is a decision for the National Director of Public Prosecutions.
So, also talking to security, because the terms of reference also state that where necessary, evidence can be given in camera in order to protect witnesses, because we do understand that it is high stakes and we are talking about people who may be very powerful in whichever arena they actually are playing in. So security, I see here, is quite tight. But in terms of those who may be witnesses, who may come forward here at the Madlanga Commission, we started slightly later than was expected for this commission, because everything was not in place. Have you managed to secure all the resources that you needed in order to make sure that people will be safe?
And I think it's important, Sakina, to understand that it was precisely because of security considerations, taking into account the sensitivity of the information and the high stakes. We are talking about criminal syndicates who are highly organized, and of course they are dangerous, as we know. Scores of people are dying across the country as a result of, for example, on the Cape Flats, gang violence. And we've seen over the last few weeks the huge numbers of people who have been shot and killed. And so we are dealing with dangerous criminals. And of course, the allegations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi will be tested during the course of the Commission. But to come to your question about witnesses, I mean, certainly the safety of witnesses and anyone, whistleblowers coming forward with information is sacrosanct. And the Commission is doing everything in its power to ensure that we secure life and limb. But just in terms of the detail, obviously we are not able to share the detail except to say that we have taken lessons from, for example, the Zondo Commission, the Commission on State Capture, and it is something of a conundrum because the Commission relies on the very state agencies that are ordinarily responsible for witness protection. And so, as you can imagine, there's an extra level of vetting that has had to take place. But again, we are not going to be able to divulge those details as to exactly what the Commission is doing, except to say that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that witnesses are protected. We could talk about the anonymous hotline, confidential, obviously, that the Commission launched a couple of weeks ago, last week.
Have you actually received some information through that hotline?
Indeed, information has been flowing. Even before the hotline was launched, we had many people approaching the Commission with information. It is important to say that the Commission's terms of reference are specifically around the allegations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. But of course, as the investigators go about their work, we don't know what they are going to uncover. And so we'll have to see where it leads.
And so that's going to be interesting. And then, of course, court challenge by the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. And, I asked you this yesterday, but unfortunately, we had a bit of a technical issue. So if we can just get into that again. You obviously are aware of this. And how is the Commission going to respond to the MK Party?
Sakina, we live in a constitutional democracy. And everyone has the right to go to court and launch proceedings. Obviously, we have noted those proceedings, but for the Commission's part, unless a court directs otherwise, we are proceeding with what we have planned over the next few days for Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to be on the stand in the witness box for at least 3 to 4, maybe more days. And then there is a long list of witnesses who are going to be appearing. I should say that the hearings are public mostly, but and of course, the judge will make a call, but there are categories of hearings. It's those that are fully public, as we are going to have over the next week or so. Then there is a category of hearings where it is in camera, but the witness will not appear visually, will not be able to be identified, but the public will be able to hear what that witness is saying, muffled. And then there is completely in camera, and those hearings are mostly around very sensitive issues, also related to classified information.
And just finally, around the public skepticism about expensive talk shops, so to speak. Will you be publishing your budget spend as you go along, just for the sake of transparency for this commission? Justice Madlanga has committed the Commission publicly to transparency. Of course, we again are dealing with very, very sensitive issues, but specifically on your question related to the budget as it stands is at 147.8 million rand. That was an estimate, and of course, there may need to be adjustment to that budget given what is unfolding. Again, we don't know where the investigations are going to lead, but I think safe to say that we are committed to a very high level of transparency as far as that is possible, and of course ensuring that the Commission does its work as it has been mandated to do in the terms of reference. Well, thanks so much, Jeremy Michaels, whom we'll be speaking to quite a lot over the next few months, I have no doubt. And this, of course, as the Madlanga Commission kicks off, 10 a.m. is when proceedings are meant to start. And of course, the first witness, the man who at the center of all of this is the chief protagonist who made all of these allegations, the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Let's take a quick break, and then it's the news at 8 with Leanne.